What's going on, guys? This is your host, Mark Metry, coming in, host of the Humans 2.0 podcast. Today, I am hosting the Power Entrepreneurs podcast with Jacob and Jake. How are you guys doing today?
We are doing phenomenal. Amazing. Thank you for joining us, for hosting us today.
Of course, bro. So, we're chilling at LinkedIn Global, New Jersey. Had the honor of meeting you guys in October, meeting you, Jacob, in October of last year, right? You came to this New York City event that I was speaking at. And you were like, yo, bro, I want to interview you. And I was like, okay, cool. And I checked out what you got, and you're 22, you're same age. You've got a book, which is pretty ridiculous because that requires a ton of effort, ton of focus. Very impressed by that. And I've just been seeing Jake's content and obviously seeing the podcast and really thinking about how you guys are. You guys aren't just talking about the same stuff that everybody talks about. You're really trying to talk about really deep topics, self-fulfillment, especially you, Jake, that I see come up, that I think are going to get people really far if they focus on that, rather than just the standard entrepreneurship and business, because there's deeper stuff that powers that stuff. So it's been great to see you guys grow, and we're doing this in person. So thank you again. And I don't know. I guess I started.
Thank you. What do you mean?
Of course, bro. I guess I'll just start it by saying maybe you guys could just talk about, how about this? What is a early moment experience in your life that you constantly think about today that has shaped your life? Each one of you guys go.
An early moment that has shaped my life. I remember I think I was around 15 years old when I had dropped out of high school. It was the end of 10th grade, and I came home and I said, hey, Dad, I'm not going back to school. I've been to 2 different high schools. Each year was in a different high school, and it's just not working for me. I don't like it. And he said, you can either go back to school or you can get a job, but you're not going to sit around and do nothing. And I remember this so profoundly because at 15 years old, it's first off, I don't want to go to school, and second off, get a job at 15 years old. It's hard to do. And so I went out and I found a job actually after a while. I was making $300 a week, which was great, and started tinkering around with websites at the time as a hobby. And a friend of mine introduced me to a venture capitalist who said, I need a couple of websites done. Can you help me out? Which I did. And after doing those couple of websites, he said, hey, you're really good at this. Let's start a web design company. At 15 years old, this was amazing.
Damn, at 15?
Yeah.
Damn.
Naturally, he just wanted to come in as a venture capitalist. He wanted to put money into it, and he wanted me to run a company. I was 15. I think maybe this is why he's not doing so well these days as a venture capitalist. That company went downhill pretty quickly. But I remembered what my dad told me, you're not going to sit around and do nothing. And that stuck with me, growing up and throughout everything that I've done since then, is that, I have this opportunity to sit around and do nothing. I could. Right. I have my own business. It might not last very long if I sat around and done nothing, but I have that possibility. But those words will always ring in my ears, and, you can't sit around and do nothing. There's always something that I could do, something out there in this world. And so that kind of drives me all the time.
Wow. Wait. So did you end up dropping out from high school?
Yeah.
Damn.
After 10th grade.
We hear college dropouts, but damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. I think I attribute, a lot of the person that I am today to dropping out of high school. The fact that at 15, I kind of started my life versus most people starting it at 20, 22 or whatever it is. I got a big head start on most people out there.
Dang, dude, that's crazy. Well, dude, generally speaking, I'd go more into this, but I'd love to hear from you, Jacob.
Right. Awesome. So I think my first defining moment was I always saw the kids who were doing the lemonade stands, and I was trying to think differently. These kids are making back. You're going back now 15, 16 years ago. It wasn't 25 cents lemonade. It was 10 cents a lemonade. Now they're 50 cents, But I was just okay, that's just too little, and it's just too hot outside. So I was that kid that was just selling things out of the lockers all the time. I'm talking
drugs?
No,
I gotta ask.
No, not drugs. Not from the lockers, never. But it started by just selling like snacks when I was between ages like 8 and 10, and then from 10 I started selling like knives and lighters and just a bunch of other things. And like when I got to age 12, I started selling Game Boys and PSPs and games, like high ticket items, which I considered I'd like my markup was like twice, 3 times the price. I don't know how the kids got the money, but they got it.
Wait, hold up. Can I interject? What were you like? What was like your financial status? Like, did your parents have money? Were you guys well off? Did you not?
I mean, my parents were, we always had what we needed in the house, but they were not like rich or anything like that.
I see.
And I guess, and then it just started going and going and going, always just selling things. And that's when I knew like sales is the way if you want to be financially free, and if you want to always have a good life, you have to know how to sell. And I kind of never realized this until I was 16. I did a real estate job in Brooklyn, hustling some apartment rentals for some Israeli, which was a very interesting trip. I would I would take a bus for 2 hours each way. It didn't work out for me after like 3 weeks. So then I turned 17. Then I started going into Wall Street for like 6 months and doing life insurance. And that was like my first sales. Like I was working under somebody, I was calling, I was getting him leads and stuff. I did that for like 6 months until like the hour and 45-minute commute to Wall Street was just like too exhausting. And then I kind of took a break, and at my 18th birthday, I went straight into real estate. And I just hustled real estate and just closed a ton of deals. And that's really where personal development took off in my life where I am today.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to ask that question. And, for me, when I look back at my life, I was also doing all these different kinds of entrepreneurial things in my own way. And of course, and I always ask myself, like, why was I doing that? Like, why wasn't I just like a kid who just like, sat down and just like didn't do anything with their life? Do you guys ever think about, I mean, for you, Jake, I feel like it's a little bit more clearly like you had this straight up conviction to say like, screw school, and your dad sort of giving you this option. But like, do you ever think about like why as a kid you were doing those things? Do you think it was like to help your parents get money, or like, what do you think about that?
So I'm like Jake, 15-year-old high school dropout.
Oh my God, no way. Damn,
yeah,
bro.
And it was just more of, I had to live differently. I see all the kids, they were just, they're playing their games, they're running around, they're doing their things. I was more the kid where I wasn't into the sports, but I was more into hiking. I was more into shooting bow and arrows, shooting guns, throwing knives, throwing axes, just doing different stuff. And I just wanted a different life than them. I wanted to be able to afford my own stuff, not like, hey, can you go, like, daddy or mom, can you go buy me like a Game Boy and stuff? And I bought like 10 Game Boys for myself that like either broke or like, I don't know, people stole them or something happened. And that was, it's like more of a self-fulfillment.
Definitely, man. And, my follow-up question to that is like, what has been like the biggest entrepreneurial success for you throughout your life, and what did you take away from that? And I'm going to get to some other things, but
I mean, it's interesting because I think for both of us, we're both still relatively early in our entrepreneurial stage.
Me too.
The funny thing is, I think the most successful entrepreneurial experience for me has been what many other people wouldn't even consider a success. And that's the fact that, Jacob and I launched the Power Entrepreneur. We make pretty much no money off of the Power Entrepreneur. We've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people through the Power Entrepreneur. And people look at that and they'll say, well, how is that a success? You didn't gain anything out of it. Well, the truth is that we gained a lot. And I think a lesson that someone can take out of this is the way I look at it. See, people ask me all the time, why are you spending so much time on the Power Entrepreneur if you're not making money off of it? And my answer is, aside from helping people, which I love doing, it's given Jacob and I a major boost to our name, right? People associate you with big names. That's a major benefit, right? If I sit down now and I try to close a deal with someone and they've heard my podcast and they say, well, oh my God, this guy sat down and spoke to David Meltzer. No one else can do that. Right? And that too, the power of proximity, it's huge in business. And so I found that that combined with just being known for doing great things for the community, hosting these events and doing things on a constant and consistent basis has given me a certain name that people look up to and respect. And that's more than any monetary success could have given me at this age, I believe.
Yeah. So, the reason why I ask is because, all day today at this LinkedIn event, I've heard entrepreneurship, people talking about business and networking. All that stuff is great. But, to me, when I look at what you guys put out on top of the podcast, you guys seem like very, conscious individuals that have gone through their own struggles. And, for me in my life, I remember when I was 15, 16 and I did become financially independent and I had gained like my first like entrepreneurial success, it made me just like completely rethink success in the sense of like, wait, is it actually about like, getting followers? Is it actually about getting money? Is it actually about, doing all these things at a surface level seem cool, but then actually what really is success? What is like that deep meaning of success that is for you that is outside of that? And like, I'll tell you, like I meet so many different entrepreneurs who are just starting out on their journey and like literally all they're obsessed with is like this startup and like it's making this amount of money and this, and of course the business side is super important, but they're not super focused on like the bigger picture of like, how is this going to change people's lives? How is this going to change my life? What do I actually value the most? And so I definitely went through a time in my life where I had to like reevaluate what success was and sort of recalibrate that. I'm curious to hear from you guys, like, have you ever had to change that definition? Did you ever have like a moment where like you thought you made it, but then you're like, oh wait, like there's actually like this whole other game that you could be playing in that's like the big game, if that makes any sense?
So for me, I always picture myself as I'm on this road to success. And I'll give you, in a minute, I'll tell you what my definition of success is. My success has changed for me from when I first viewed what the definition of success was to what I view it right now, which is really who made me who I am today. So for me, I started off tying in success to money, like what most people do. They tie it to money, they tie it to physical, to tangible objects, which has tremendously changed for me over the course of the last 2 years, where I kind of shifted my brain and I shifted my mindset into like money. You can have it one day, you can lose it one day, and you're always going to be on the struggle where, oh, if I didn't close a sale today, if I didn't go get that client today, if I didn't get that speaking engagement today, for tomorrow, then, oh, today was not a success. And I totally revamped my way of thinking into, for me, success is being able to spend quality time with my family and the people I love and being able to do whatever I want with them. So money is a detail. Physical and tangible objects are details. And the second I viewed that's how my success is, where it ties in with family, at the end of the day, I always have my family. I always have the people I love, which every day contributes to a success, which makes me wake up every day so full of power and energy and enthusiasm.
I think that's a great point because, a lot of people have this crazy belief that money is the root of all evil, right? You tell them the beginning of that sentence and trust me, they'll finish it that way. The funny thing is that money is an amplifier. It's a tool and it's an amplifier. And whoever you are on the inside, that's what money is going to allow you to do more of on the outside. And so, like Jacob said, if the only definition of success for you is going to be monetary, then it's a hollow shell. And so what is money really amplifying for you at that point?
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see so many people that are relatively successful financially, but they say, oh, money isn't everything, and I'm still depressed and this and that. It's because on the inside they have nothing else. And so I think what Jacob said is so important. If you have friends and family and you have deeper meaning aside from just the money, that is what true success is.
I love everything you guys said, and honestly, talking to all the people who I've talked to and my own life experience, honestly, I think like entrepreneurship is like it's obviously a great thing. It's completely changed this world. It's created empires, and it's completely brought change along a lot of people. But I also think entrepreneurship is just like a coping mechanism that a lot of people get into. If it's not like drugs, or if it's not being into video games or food or whatever that is for somebody, it's almost like this outlet that you just like sort of put yourself in. And I remember when I was interviewing Ed Milet, he said entrepreneurship is the world's greatest self-discovery program with a potential compensation package attached, depending on, if your business is actually successful or not. That's just something that I always think about, going back to what you said of like, how you define success is quality time with your family, and like you understanding that those things gets you to wake up every day, full of energy and doing what you want. I'm curious, do you ever have days where you don't wake up like that for both of you, and like what do you do?
Before we continue, I'd like to take a quick minute to talk about this episode's sponsor. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When we were thinking about getting the Power Entrepreneurs podcast off the ground, we had a lot of questions, like how to record our episodes and how to get our show into all the different apps people enjoy listening on. The answer was very simple: Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast, and it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. So to get your podcast started, just visit anchor.fm/start. As always, if you're enjoying this episode of our podcast, be sure to leave a review on iTunes. Now back to the show.
You understanding that those things gets you to wake up every day, full of energy and doing what you want. I'm curious, do you ever have days where you don't wake up like that for both of you, and like what do you do?
Oh, of course I have those days, but I have my vision, I have my goals, I have my why, and that's the biggest thing. If I did not have my why, I'd stay in bed. But, well, first of all, my wife kicks me out of bed. It kicks me out of bed, so, like,
Your
I can't
wife?
just be, I'm
there
married.
You go, bro. That's good.
Yeah. And so that's that. Like, she does not let me be in bed.
Man, I gotta respect my wife. I'm 22.
And so I'm out there every morning, waking up at between 5 and 6 o'clock, and just out there hitting the gym and just hitting my day. And the second I just have that, like, slight routine, which is I wake up, I hit the gym, I read, I do a little bit of like personal development, like inspiration video and stuff that I listen to or that I watch. It already puts me, it puts your feet forward. Like Joe Apfelbaum told me once, he's like, the one thing you got to do, you just got to focus on the next thing. So the first thing you do is you wake up, you open your eyes. The second thing you do, you take your cover off, put your feet on the ground, you walk to the bathroom, and you just start your day. And that's just how I've done it. So yeah, you have those days that are just crappy and you just don't want to do anything, but you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day.
I think that's so important, to first note on something you just said, which is, you wake up right away, take your covers off and put your feet on the ground and get to work, in a sense, which I had this realization a while ago that I think many people make the mistake of waking up, hitting the snooze button, and laying in bed and thinking and trying to maybe sleep a little more or checking their phone, right? I noticed for myself, and I think that many other people could do the same thing, if you want to really kickstart your day, the first thing you need to do when you wake up is pop out of bed and do something. Yeah. Physically do something. Don't give your brain a chance to come up with reasons why you should stay in bed for another 5 minutes. And so, but to go back to the question of do we have crappy days, everybody's going to have crappy days. It's funny, I was just talking to that guy that just walked out about how everywhere I go, I'm always showing up happy. And people comment on it and they ask me, how are you always happy? Like at this event tonight, I did not want to be here. I woke up yesterday with a terrible cold. I could not talk the entire day yesterday. And today I didn't really want to come. I'm still recuperating from a cold, but I showed up, and as I get here, a friend texts me and says, well, I hope you don't have to fake your happiness too much today. I hope you have a good time podcasting and whatever. And I thought about that, and I realized I'm always happy. And it's a mindset, it's a choice that I made that no matter what happens, I want to have a good time. And I'm not going to let any circumstance control that. Because I think it was what's his name? Forgetting this big spiritual Indian guy.
Dalai Lama?
No, not Dalai Lama. But he says, is the ultimate slavery not being controlled by external circumstances? The ultimate slavery is when you allow external circumstances to control who you are and how you feel. And so, the saying, you can't control life, but you can control how you react to life. And if you approach life in that way every single day, with the idea that you can control how you're going to react, I think you can have a good day every day.
Yeah. For me, David Meltzer, he recently tweeted this, and I couldn't agree more. And he's like, I don't have great moments all day, every day, but every day is a great day. And it just it sort of made me sort of think back to my journey of not every single day has been awesome, but by the end of that day, I've figured it out. I can go to sleep with a clear conscience and be today might have sucked, but I knew I grew in some level. And, for me, when I wake up and I don't feel like that, there's a lot of different things, but one thing that I do is just try to find something small you can build action in, build momentum, because so often you can sit in your bed and your brain will be you can't do this, even if you're not conscious of this dialogue. And eventually, next thing you know, that's why you hit the snooze button. That's why you just search Instagram, searching for yourself, searching for your soul, because you don't know what to do. For me, a massive thing is hitting the gym and using the physical aspect to understand the mind. And as I do that every morning, I slowly begin to realize sometimes I wake up, I don't know if it's just me, my mind is moving way too fast. I have no idea what's going on. Go to the gym, you just basically beat the crap out of myself, come back, and I'm whoa, I really feel myself. And that's what I think, setting habits and routines is all about. But nonetheless, first off, dude, I want to hear about this book. So when did you make this book? What was the motivation for it? How did you do it? Because dude, it's not every day you hear a 22-year-old has a book. And writing a book takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of focus.
Well, I wanted to write a book since I was a kid. But I wanted to write a sci-fi book when I was a kid. And, for most kids, they read Harry Potter, they read Aragon, they read The Ranger's Apprentice, all these, series, and, they get inspired, they want to be writers. It kind of happened last 2 years. I was telling myself, I still want to write a book. I still wanted to write a sci-fi book. And then just the last year and change, it kind of went, I'm going to write a business book. I've interviewed many people. I've been around. I've attended tons and tons of seminars and courses and workshops. That I feel that I have enough information to put it in a book. So I set a time and I set a date and I made it happen. And that's really how it is. I just wrote for 6 months every day. Actually, I wrote for 4 months every day. And then I just gave it to an editor and a proofreader, just put it all together, and a layout person to just structure it. I did the cover and I just had it all done within 6 to 7 months. So if you need to write a book, just start writing. Stop thinking. And writer's block is the biggest BS in the world.
Yeah.
It's just, if you don't want to write what you're writing, what you think you're going to write about something else.
It's an excuse.
Yeah.
Jake, any book in your horizon?
I've been thinking about it for the longest time now. Wow. I know it's an excuse, but I just haven't, I always say I haven't had the time, but the truth is I haven't really dedicated the time to it. It's as Jacob said, and I was going to interject, John Maxwell says this all the time. He's how did I write? How many books does he have out?
70-something.
Ridiculous number of books, right? And he says, literally every day, I just write. It's all. Just make it a part of your day every day. And so I haven't dedicated the time, but I do want to.
I have another book coming out.
Dude, that's awesome, man. So, basically, as we wrap up here, when all is said and gone, in your lives, what do you either want people to know you for? What do you want to have accomplished in the world? Big picture, big idea.
All right, so
if you've thought about it, which you probably have.
I've thought about it. I used to have a group called the Power Group, which is one of the reasons why I had the idea for the Power Entrepreneur's name. But we would sit for 2 hours every day and talk. It was 5 people, and we would help each other with our life and what's the next step and what are you working towards and all that stuff. And one of the things we worked at was our 20-year vision. And I remember then, and this is pretty much kind of what's been driving me since I started working on my personal development, was I've always loved helping people, and I love helping people in a way that they don't need me anymore at some point.
Sustainability.
Right? Sustainability. You know, they say it's easy to build wealth, it's harder to maintain it.
Mm.
Well, my idea is that I want to be able to help people to the point where they can maintain it on their own. And so if there was a legacy, I guess you could say, that I wanted to leave behind, it would be a legacy of a better and happier world because of some input that I had.
Nice.
So on my end, it's definitely, I want to kind of start this nation where it's people that care unconditionally. When you care unconditionally, there is nothing that is more connecting. There's nothing that's more value than that. I mean, think about it, you know? In any aspect of life, if you're meeting someone, like for example over here, there's 1,000 people at this networking event. And if you just treat everybody like you care about them, eventually someone's going to care about you and they're going to pay it forward. So if you have all these walking ambassadors of people caring unconditionally, I think that is the best thing that can happen around.
Yeah, honestly, man, I feel like at the end of the day, everybody just wants like people to love them. You know what I mean? Like even, you know,
More recognition.
Exactly. You know, you look at like, you know, whether it's a billionaire or like a Hall of Fame like rapper or whatever, like dude, there's a part of them like that psychological need that drives their action. That's like, I just want people to like me. Like that's
right.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. But I like that. I don't know if you guys are down for this, but on my podcast, the last thing that I have guests do is leave the audience with a self-inquisitive question. Like a question that you could sort of ask and somebody listening could ask themselves. Because, you know, I feel questions are super, super powerful, you know, really tools that can like, depending on the question, depending on where the person is, can really open up their mind. So, I mean, I'd love it if each of you guys could just leave a question.
I mean, something I ask myself almost every single day is what am I truly passionate about? You know, you come to an event like this and people are always asking, what do you do? But when's the last time someone asked you, what are you passionate about? What do you care about? So I ask myself this every day, and you know what? Over time, some of the things that I'm passionate about may change because as humans, we constantly evolve. But I've noticed at its core what has not changed, and I know that those are the things that I'm really living for. And so if you can ask yourself every day, what am I passionate about? Maybe even write it down. I don't always write it down, but if you do, you might be able to look back and see what hasn't changed and find what you are truly passionate about. So think about that. What are you passionate about?
And for me, it's, when was the last time you helped someone unconditionally? And when is the next time you're going to do that?
That's a good question, man. It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good question. It's crazy. Well, do you guys have anything else to add before we close off here?
I mean, yeah, usually we're asked, and what is the difference between the entrepreneur and the power entrepreneur?
Okay, what's the difference, bro?
It's interesting having the tables turned on you, you know?
Always.
What's the difference between an entrepreneur and a power entrepreneur? I think an entrepreneur, especially these days, are a dime a dozen. You go on Instagram and type in entrepreneur, oh my God, you will get lost. But a power entrepreneur, you don't even need to ask them if they're an entrepreneur. They're not even going to tell you they're an entrepreneur. A power entrepreneur is somebody that's so dedicated and focused to whatever that cause that is driving their entrepreneurship. That is their passion in life, their true passion, and they've made it that. They understand that they can't treat it as a hobby. They understand that they need to actually develop themselves and develop the people in their business. I think those are power entrepreneurs.
And for me, the entrepreneur is the guy, the girl, who go around their business where, you know, they're going around, they're hustling, they're closing deals, they're doing great things, they have vision, they have goals. But what separates the power entrepreneur from the entrepreneur is one word: intention. When you're living your life intentionally, in every moment, that is what separates the power entrepreneur from the mass, the entrepreneurs.
And dude, the thing is that like intention doesn't even mean like you know exactly what you're gonna do. It just means like you set out in the world, you take a step forward. Like for me,
exactly.
whenever for me, like whenever I speak, I try to do it every day, but not every day. But whenever I speak specifically, I journal about this, and I'm like, what is my intention for coming here with this event? Because I know that if I don't have my intentions straight up written, black and white, my brain is going to like try to distract me and be like, dude, you're really here to like impress this person or to get this. But when I go back to my intention, which my intention today was to impact the life of one person somehow, some way, just one person, then it really like sets your mind on a target and it keeps you locked in as well as your behavior. So I love that. Gentlemen, this was fantastic. I appreciate you guys
for hosting the podcast.
Of course. Thank you to everyone out there for listening. This has been your host, Mark Metry, on the Power Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Hey, you powerhouse. You made it to the end of the episode. Not everyone can do that. We really appreciate you listening to our show every week. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find us on social media by looking for The Power Entrepreneur. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, even Twitter. Look for The Power Entrepreneur or go to our website, thepowerentrepreneur.com. If you really, really love the podcast, I'd highly appreciate it if you went on iTunes right now and left us a review. It helps us way more than you know. Go out there and make it a powerful life.